Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
Hey, it's Rob Charney with Old Guy Tech TV, and I'm here today with Sheriff John DeAugustini of El Dorado County. John, once again,
Hello,
thanks
Rob.
for coming. You have been a real trooper in helping us out. I really appreciate it.
Don't worry.
And the show's live, so if any of you would like to call in, it is 530-621-1210, 621-1210, because it's kind of an open forum day. We don't have a whole lot of really fixed things that, that we're going to talk about, but there's a lot of things going on in the news, and there may be some specific things that you would like to talk about, so we would love to have you call in and add to the discussion. So, John, I want to talk to you just real quick a little bit about what the Department of Justice, United States Department of Justice, is saying, that they don't need warrants for email, Facebook chats, phone conversations, or anything electronically. They feel that they don't need a warrant. And that's their stance. They've made an actual stance and say, you know what, we're going, and they're moving ahead doing that. And I don't know if this is something that they're doing under, I don't know, the Patriot Act, or how they're getting around it, but does that sound right to you?
No. And I think, it's all going to come down to is if a person should have a reasonable expectation of privacy in those documents, digital or otherwise.
Right.
I think the obvious answer is absolutely, so therefore the Fourth Amendment applies.
Well, that's what I would think. I would think that somehow we have a violation of the Fourth Amendment in this, but don't we see what they're saying. DOJ is saying that you have no expectations of privacy in your email or in any electronic form. That's the stance they decided to take. Okay, our producers have got something. What, John?
There was something.
Take a mic if you want to talk.
I don't. There was something from the 80s saying, believe it or not, 80s, early 90s, that if you leave your email in your inbox for 180 days, it's considered abandoned online. Also, a lot of the laws now haven't been updated because the laws now don't protect you the way it did back then.
Well, okay, so obviously our founding fathers found there was no such thing as even a telephone, telegraph, or anything.
No, but there were letters.
There were letters.
And
right.
If you have to treat these as the same way. And I've done this. I've written search warrants for emails.
Okay.
Because I believe there was evidence of a crime there, and there was.
Right.
When I was working in narcotics, dope deals being done over the internet.
Sure.
Agreements being made.
But you got a warrant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got a warrant. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How they're going to get it? This will be challenged. I guarantee you this will be challenged.
Oh.
And the Supreme Court, as long as it's not stacked to the point where it doesn't mean anything anymore, will rule that this is unconstitutional.
Yeah, I would think so. We've got a deal here where it talks about, let me switch here for a second. U.S. Attorney for Manhattan circulated internal instructions, for instance, saying a subpoena, a piece of paper signed by a prosecutor, not a judge, is sufficient to obtain nearly all records from an internet service provider. And the U.S. Attorney in Houston recently obtained the contents of stored communication from an unnamed internet service provider without securing a warrant signed by a judge. So we've got multiple states doing this, and then we have multiple states' attorney generals approving it. The Department of Justice disinclined to seek search warrants for private files stored on servers of companies like Apple, Google, and Microsoft, and continued even after a federal appeals court in 2010 ruled that warrantless access to email voids the Fourth Amendment. So already we've got states that are going against an appeals court that said you can't do this.
Well, again, in my experience and my interpretation of the Constitution, no, it's unconstitutional. I have had these same organizations say, show us a warrant.
Yeah.
As soon as we have a court order, then we'll go ahead and release the documents, which is correct.
Okay.
And I've gone through those hoops and done the right thing.
So
this will get overturned.
Walk me through this so I understand how you do it. So you're doing an investigation, and your guys are out there doing their due diligence as they're supposed to, and they're watching some meathead out there doing drug stuff or something, and you believe that there's enough evidence to get a warrant. So you have to take all this material to a judge and and explain to the judge why you want the warrant, and then they're specific as to what the warrant is. You can't have a broad warrant.
Particularly describing the places to be searched and the things to be seized.
Right.
Yes.
So they got to do that. In this particular case, it's wide open. They're saying anything electronic. Well, there isn't anything that isn't electronic now.
You're right.
So I don't understand how that works.
You can't. That's why I say I'm confident that this will be overturned in the courts, even if it is stacked to that point. I mean, it's on its face. It's a reasonable expectation of privacy in those areas.
Right.
Period.
Right.
So if there's a reasonable expectation of privacy, then you need the Fourth Amendment applies. Now, if there's issues of, the recent one was where law enforcement can no longer use a GPS tracking device on a vehicle. You need to get a warrant for that.
Okay.
For years, the belief was, a person's travels, where you go, and if you're driving down the road, anybody can see it. Anybody knows where you're going.
No expectation
and they
of
said there was
privacy
no
when
expectation
right.
of privacy.
Right.
But yet they ruled that you actually do have an expectation of privacy. So now we have to go get a warrant. This is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. Typically you would do your investigation. You would get a search warrant for a residence and items to be seized, searched for and seized. And typically in a narcotics investigation, with the advent of electronic
right.
digital communication, emails, chat rooms, all that other stuff, you have probable cause to believe that those drug transactions were being conducted electronically, so therefore you request permission to search for and seize computers and things of that nature.
Right.
So then you'd serve your search warrant. You would get the computers under the search warrant, authorized by the search warrant, and in that search warrant authorized to search that computer, and you would find evidence of
whatever you're looking
sales,
for. Right.
Making deals.
So
then you would write another search warrant to those providers, the Gmail, Yahoo,
the
whatever,
ISPs and all of that, right?
To get those emails and possibly more from the provider.
Stored. Okay, so here's where I see the difference lies. And when they talked about things like Facebook and all that other stuff, that I think that because Facebook is open to anybody that wants to go to that person's website. Many people have wide open Facebook. They don't have
public accounts.
Right. They don't have invitation only. I think there's no expectation of privacy on that one. That one I don't have a problem with. But when they have private invitation only and email that's directed to you only, I have to believe, in my interpretation, that under the Fourth Amendment you would need a warrant.
Yeah, and I believe, and I don't have the cases in front of me, but I believe that that's already been decided by the court, specifically the Ninth Circuit, as a reasonable expectation of privacy in those circumstances. I think that's already been decided.
Well, then how is this happening? I mean, I don't understand. I mean, here we have states' attorney generals step in and say, no, go ahead, do anything you want. The department, let's see, CNET did a follow-up on this with the FBI in a statement that in all investigations, the FBI obtains evidence in accordance with the laws and the Constitution of the United States and consent with Attorney General guidelines. So, they're saying that, they're throwing it back on the Attorney Generals. So the U.S. Attorney General's office is to adhere to the legal requirements of that particular district as set forth in case law or court decision. Not all U.S. attorneys have attempted to obtain American stored email correspondence without a warrant, but we do have abuse. So what we're doing is we're seeing spots throughout the country where the state's attorney general is saying, do what you want, and then some are saying no. So what we need is an absolute definitive ruling that this is all considered private, because everybody's making their own interpretation. And it bothers me when a warrant can be issued by a prosecutor and not a judge. How does that work?
Well, the warrant's not being issued. If I believe in there it said subpoena.
Subpoena. Oh, okay, okay. That's different.
That's different.
No, that I understand.
Still is it's a reasonable expectation of privacy.
Yeah.
That you need a warrant. You need to get that warrant there. This, hopefully, this will work its way up. Supremes will hear it, and like you say, make some definitive law on it. But as far as I'm concerned, it already is definitive.
Yeah, right.
My guys are getting warrants, and as far as I know, all my peers in the agencies in California, they're treating it the same way.
Right.
For the abuses that are going on in other parts of this nation, those people need to stand up, run it up the chain.
You know, it'll be interesting to see. I think this issue is gonna pop up more and more, and it's going to be interesting to see if every district attorney in every county, how they have decided to rule on this and what the different law enforcement agencies have done. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me in the big cities, that they just decide to do whatever it is they want to do.
But the law is the law. I mean, you need to have a search warrant.
I agree.
You need to have a search warrant, and if they're doing this, then they need to get it rammed, and they need to get it fixed, because it's not real.
It's not right. I mean, it's just totally wrong. Now, Jonathan brought up the point about the 180 days, and I did find out the information on that. And that was a decision that was made in 1986, and it was called the Warsack decision. The general rule since 1986 has been that police could obtain America's email messages that were more than 180 days old with an administrative subpoena, also known as the 2703 order, both of which lack a warrant's probable cause requirement.
I've never heard of that, and that doesn't sound right to me, because it's not abandoned. I mean, I have emails in my inbox that are 2, 3, 4, 5 years old.
Oh yeah, I have emails easily go back.
Stuff.
I have emails that go back easy 7, 8 years.
A lot of it is, from what I've heard, is that it really applies to, like, if you have a Gmail address or a Yahoo Mail. If you leave something in the cloud, as it were.
But it's mine. It doesn't matter. I put it in a folder. I store it for 5 years. It's still mine.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I agree with you, but
I
think what John's pointing out, that there is a difference between if you use Google, or let's say Gmail. Let's just take Gmail for a fact. You're using their service. You don't actually own anything, but you're using their service. And so
the courts are going to interpret a reasonable expectation of privacy. I'm using their service to send, receive information that is my own.
Right.
That is mine,
right.
Not anybody else's. It's mine.
I understand it. It's yours, but they're saying in this case it isn't yours.
Well,
so I don't know. I'm just going by what I'm being told, and I think somebody's going to have to step up and make some kind of finite decision. I know the ACLU is brought this up already, and they're going to go ahead and bring it further.
Good.
And that's their job. That's what they should do.
That's good. Absolutely, that's good.
Yeah. So they will fight it.
Well, the EFF.
Hutton? No, I'm sorry, what?
The Electronic Freedom
the Electronic Freedom Foundation? Yeah, and I'm sure a number of the electronic foundations will probably follow up and work on this more. But, it's the whole reason I wanted to bring this up, and particularly a live show. I know we got watchers, because we got a number of people watching us right now. If you have an opinion one way or the other, give us a call. Just join in on this conversation. I'd love to hear it, and also anything else that's going on. So now we have situations where we have proof that warrantless searches are taking place. Let's talk about the situation that just happened here in Ohio. The tragedy of these 3 women that were kidnapped and held for more than 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend to a neighborhood if something just looks odd?
Report it. Call us. Let us know.
I have a hard time believing 10 years have gone by, and I understand after so many years, the victim becomes attached to the person that has caused the crime. I forgot the term. It's
Stockholm
syndrome. And I think this took place in this, because one of the interviews of one of the young people, the younger one, which I think was the daughter of one of the dirtbags that did this, she's so attached to it. That's my dad. I want my dad. She doesn't understand that there was a crime involved with this thing. So what my question was is in the neighborhood, and apparently one of the neighbors had started getting suspicious, because there was a gentleman that talked very well about what he was seeing and what was taking place. And what happened was apparently all 3 of the dirtbags had left the house, and one of the young ladies started shouting, saying, "Help, I need help, we need to get out of here." That's my understanding. So us as neighbors, I mean, I think it's like a neighborhood watch situation. We should should see something. We should have seen something, I would think, after 10 years. But
well, yeah, you would hope.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you look at culture nowadays, it's changed. Does everybody even know their neighbors anymore?
yeah, well, that's true.
You know, that's a whole nother issue.
Well,
you know, I don't know the specifics. I don't know all the facts yet. I'm just getting bits and pieces from the media,
right.
as is
There's supposed to be
everybody
some
else, and I haven't
interviews.
really been paying that much attention to it. What really has piqued my attention, and I will be paying more attention to it, is the parallels between these three gals in Cincinnati
Yeah,
and J.C. Lee Dugard
right.
in the Bay Area from up here, and not all that time that went by. And as we learned later, some of the opportunities or missed opportunities
There you go.
that were there in that case, even maybe early on. And I'm sure as the investigation continues in Cleveland, we will learn of some missed opportunities. Not trying to throw anybody under the bus or anything like that.
Absolutely.
But it's being vigilant. It's being paying attention to everything that's going on from law enforcement standpoint, as well as a neighborhood. I can guarantee you, over the years, some neighbors thought something just
oh, they had to.
JDLR didn't look right.
Just didn't look right.
JDLR.
There you go.
That if you had those suspicions, let us know. Yeah, we get those, and it's like, yeah, whatever. There was nothing there.
Right.
I understand it, and that's fine. But at least you have it clear on your conscience that should 5 years ago you had those feelings, you didn't report it, and now 5 years later, I was a neighbor of them people, and
Yeah.
I thought that, and I never called anybody.
There's a fine line between being the nosy busybody and being diligent, as far as watching what's going
just
on
be
in your
diligent.
neighborhood.
That's a good word to use. Be
Be
diligent.
diligent.
These three victims are, God bless them. I don't know what I can't even imagine
I
what
can't
they're
imagine how
going
they've gone
through,
through.
and
Yeah,
what they went through at the beginning, and then the transition and the different stages that they went through. It's got to be just unbelievable. But they'll get through it. I hear JC's got through her ordeal, and she's doing very, very well.
Good.
These will too. It's a difficult road.
They're
but,
going to get the right help,
they'll get
the right
help.
people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's probably like anything else in a neighborhood. I always watch stuff as I drive in it, my neighborhood, and I look at things, and I look at if a sign's posted. I stop to see what the hell they're talking about, if they're selling Amway or if they're selling something legit or what it would be. And
you saw the AM on the Amway, thought they said Amway.
That's right.
That's what it was.
You caught me. So anyway, but do that. But see, at the same time, I'm one of these guys that have always believed that better fences make better neighbors.
Sure.
And I cherish my privacy, and I cherish my boundaries and my property. And that probably doesn't make me a good busybody, let's say, because I see some stuff, but I'm not watching.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're driving out in your community that you live in, and you see somebody that just doesn't belong,
right, it stands out.
It stands out.
Yeah, it does. It does. But some people don't care. They don't see that kind of stuff, but they need to.
Call, absolutely. If something just, like I said, JDLR, just don't look right, give us a call. That's what we're there for.
Right.
That's what we're there for, and we'll check it out.
Yeah, I think that's a good rule of thumb for everybody. Something just doesn't look right. In the old days, everybody always said, "It's not my business." They always said, "I'm not going to stick my nose in their business," and that that was a standard that went on for hundreds of years in this country. But times have changed.
It's gone both ways. It's not my business. I think we have more of that now than we did back then. I think we have more of that now than we did back then, because we have communities where, like I said, people don't know their neighbors. You have people that live on a cul-de-sac where years ago, I mean, the kids, they weren't sitting in their houses playing video games.
Yeah,
they were out in the
was out
cul-de-sac. That's where they played ball and kicked the can and do everything else. The kids in the country, we all got together. When I was growing up, my friends, we rode our bicycles everywhere.
Sure.
Nowadays, it's different, and I'm just as much to blame. I see my son, he has his friends. Yeah, they come over once in a while, but they play video games or do homework. But the outdoor activity and everybody knowing everybody and the block parties and the barbecues and all that other stuff, we don't have that same type of community anymore. It just doesn't exist for the most part.
Right.
So, and that's part of it. I mean, if this community was a tight community where these three girls were, people would probably know these three guys Yeah, there's some weird dudes. Something's wrong there.
Well, I think
and
we're
some of them would know a
That's
cop.
right. That's right. And I know that some of that is changing because we're hearing more from some of the other neighbors all going, yeah, that didn't seem right. Well, I can see that happening easily.
Yeah.
Where it just was, it didn't seem right. So be vigilant. But, and that's all I can say on that type of thing. It's so sad. And unfortunately, my guess is there's probably dozens of more similar situations out there.
Well, you hope not. But just, like I've said before, there are evil people that walk among us.
Oh, yeah.
And there will always be evil people that walk among us. That's why Second Amendment is so is very, very important to be able to protect ourselves and our families and our loved ones. You can't rely on the government. You can't. When seconds count, the police are only minutes away, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
well, and on the whole Second Amendment issue in California, I mean, these idiots have gone just off the deep end.
Now, have I been in here since I went down and testified?
You talked about it. That was last month. Yeah, you talked about the testimony. Now, had you heard anything after your testimony?
Well, it passed through. It's flown through the committees.
That's to be expected.
Our last chance, our last hope is going to be on the governor's desk. We'll see what he does with it. I believe it'll go through the floors because there's super majorities in both houses there. So
yeah. Hey, we got an incoming call. Hey, you're on with Rob and John. Hello.
Hi. Is this Old Guy TV?
Yep, this is Old Guy Tech TV. How are you? Hello. You there?
Must have a bad connection.
Are you not there? Well, gee.
I think that was on his end.
On his end. Yeah, I think so. All right. If try again. We love to take calls. That's what makes us great.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean really call in again and
there he is.
Here we go. Hi, this is Rob with Old Guy Tech TV. Who do we have? Uh-oh. If you're listening to your computer, you have to turn your computer off or the sound off. And he hung up.
Doggone it.
We know the system's working. Anyway, so how's things going in the department? How are guys doing?
We're doing good. Budget wise, we're in a really good spot. Personnel wise, we are down staff. We're trying to hire. Mm-hmm. We've been flying positions off and on. If you pay attention to the El Dorado County's website, for correctional officers, for sheriff's tech, for deputy sheriff twos, for a lot of positions. Right now we have a CFO position. My chief financial officer position is open, and I have a list going to be selecting that hopefully here in the near future. As any organization the size that we are, well, I'll preface this with saying, I'm not out to make everybody happy, and I know I'm not going to make everybody happy. I'm out to run an agency, 369 people strong, to provide the best level of public safety to the communities we serve.
Right.
Some of the policies that I implemented early on and even today, some are not the most popular, but I have my reasons. I believe I've said before, every decision I make is, I believe, for the right reasons. I do the right things for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. And so far, everyone that I have made has proven in the long run to be a good decision.
Well, that's unusual.
So we want to keep that track record.
Yeah, no, and I think that's, working hard.
Got another.
Let's try it again. Hi, this is Rob.
Oh, hi. I guess I'm in a bad area. I can barely hear you guys, but
okay.
I wanted to know about if the CCW will ever increase to a 5-year renewal instead of a 2-year. I'll take my comment off the air. I'm in a bad area. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Well, thank you. You're talking about 5 years. You're gone.
He already hung up.
Yeah, he must have been in
so
a bad
5-year renewal as opposed to a 2-year. That's a good idea. You know, we could talk to our legislators.
What they don't understand is that's not your decision.
That's not my decision.
Unfortunately,
that's
guys,
under the dome.
Yeah.
That's state law. So, but you know, they work for you too. Depending on where you live. If you live in El Dorado County, you either have you have Bigelow, Frank Bigelow, for your assemblyman, and Ted Gaines for your senator. Call them, ask them, and encourage them that that makes sense to you. And that makes sense to me because 2 years is a very, very short cycle. And if a person is going to show bad judgment, it doesn't matter if it's within 2 years or 10 years. We're going to learn about it, and we're going to deal with it. The 2-year cycle really does nothing more than cause a lot of burden on my agency in processing those renewals. And we're seeing it now because now I've been in office two plus years.
Right.
The big surge when I took office of CCW applications,
new people coming
are now coming around, coming through.
Right.
You know, we went from 700 and some CCWs in El Dorado County to over 2,000. Mm-hmm. So that cycle, and every week we have 15 to 20 new applications coming in. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Let's start talking to our legislators about that.
Yeah, it would be, but I'm going to be frank, and I'm going to say in this atmosphere, I don't think that battle would be won.
You're right. I agree with you. However,
okay.
And I've said this before, and I said this on another appearance I made somewhere, I believe last week. We need to quit as whether you call it Second Amendment, conservative, Republican, whatever you want to call it. We need to go on the offensive.
Mm-hmm.
We're always on the defensive. Every time these laws come up, this Life Act that's going through the legislation right now with all the SB 374 and all the other ones that go along with it, we're always on the defense. Let's start going on the offense. Let's get some of our legislators, some of our more conservative legislators that are willing to do this, just come up and start throwing some very conservative pro-Second Amendment bills out there. You know what? You're right. We probably aren't going to win. But they're going to have to go on the defense to fight them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my opinion, I think you're right. But, and I don't know Mr. Bigelow at all. I've never had the opportunity to meet the gentleman, and I obviously know Beth and Ted Gaines, and I think they're so busy, like you said, fighting things instead of they're reacting instead of being proacting. That's a word. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Now, the 5-year deal on the CCW, I would love to see that as well. It makes everybody's life easier. The way it's written now, of course, it's 2 years, and every 2 years you have to take a 4-hour course. And of course, I've been an instructor forever, and the reality is the laws don't change that much between the 2 years. That was, they keep cycling through my classes. The most important part that I'm seeing is the range qualification. The classroom stuff doesn't change a whole lot.
But why have to go through a whole new process? Why not just come in, say, hey, you know what, my time's up, here's my new certificate, and just re-up it? My clerk, my records tech looks at this person's A card on the computer, says, yep, they were due for next month, they've turned it in, they hit a button, approved for the next 2 years. Rather than having to go in and do the whole reapplication process to reapply.
Well, that's a good question.
Doesn't that make sense?
Because that's the way it used to be under Dick Pacilio, under Don McDonald. I mean, those guys, you never had to do anything. You show up, hey, look, I mean, I didn't have to make an appointment. I didn't have to wait 55 days. I just show up there and say, here, I either want to add another gun to my CCW, and or it's time to renew. They'd sit there, type it out, and they did it. And I know under Dick, I don't know if the number was as large as yours was, but it was pretty high. And they managed to do it without appointments, just walking in. I don't know.
Isn't it a good thing to get some range time and some classroom time, at least, for some of these people?
Well, I agree with having the 2-year qualification and the update on the law, but to have to go through under the law the whole application part of it, It's ridiculous. Come in, turn in your paperwork.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Mr. So-and-so, you're here. Yeah, I'm here to update. Boom, there it is on the computer. Boom, you're done. Good.
Yeah.
See you in another 2 years.
It's like, like I've had one since 83, 84, something like that, and I have to do the same thing. I have to, I have to fill out this whole form, which basically is just a little bit shorter than the brand
full
new
form.
Yeah, just a little bit. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. And you're right. Why do you have to do this? The computer tells you everything anyway. But like I was saying on the range qualification time, that's been. At first, I was, God, you got to make these guys do it. But since I've been doing it for the last 8 years or so, it's given me an opportunity to help some people that just don't go out and shoot their gun at all. They have a CCW and they don't practice. And I said, okay, this is a good opportunity for you to look at your firearm, how you handle a firearm, and demonstrate some ability to shoot it properly. And that's been the best part for me. And and the people that I haven't passed out of my classes have all been for the fact that they can't handle a firearm properly. Not because they can't sit through a class and listen to the law stuff. It's that they can't demonstrate the ability to load and unload that gun safely. They can't demonstrate how to clear a jam or misfire. They have to be able to hit a target with reasonable accuracy. I mean, it's not odorous. I mean, it's a B-27 man target, at 10 yards. That's easy to do, but it has turned my mind to, I'm helping these people out, and it also puts in their mind that, gee, maybe I better get out there and practice a little bit. So I think it's been a good thing as far as that goes. And I think that's all you should need. Here's your range card. I did my range qualification. There you go. And you're done.
Yeah, no, we're on the same page.
Yeah. So for the gentleman that called, and again, I apologize for the poor sound, and I don't think it was us, but we'll double check it for tonight's show. But I agree, and John agrees. 5 years would be great, but it's not up to John. It's up to the state to pass a law regarding that every 2 years. Though I do understand. I think retired law enforcement, I think they're every 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. So, with that. All right, well, let's see. So we talked about, and thank you for calling on the CCW issue, because we pretty much know how that goes. And we've talked about keeping an eye on your neighborhood, and we talked about warrantless searches. And now we were talking about
agency.
Yeah, we were talking about your agency. And how now are you still doing these community roundtables?
Yes, yeah. Yes. We had the first one last month or 2 months ago in District 1. This one coming up next week, next Wednesday night, is at Union Mine at 6 o'clock. It is for District 2, even though Union Mine is actually in District 3. It's the most logical location to have.
Well, it's right on the line anyway.
And to bring everybody from both sides of District 2, because District 2 is a large district.
It is.
Hopefully we'll have a good turnout. The feedback we got from the first one was overwhelmingly positive. And we will eventually get to each district in the county this year, every other month. Next one will be District 3, probably somewhere in Placerville in July. It gives an opportunity. We go into the meetings. I open it up with just a brief overview, and then each one of my captains goes over their divisions, operations, support services, and custody.
Right.
And then we have Christina Novello, our crime analyst. She gives an overview on the crime trends in that district, specific to that district. And then we have breakout. We don't take any questions from the audience up at that time.
Right.
Then we have breakout. And if anybody has a question for corrections, or has a question for operations, or has a question for our STARS, or our Explorer program, or our Reserve program, or whatever it is, we have different areas throughout the room set up, and people can go and ask specific questions of those divisions. Seems really nice. It's working out really good. It's able to get what's going on in their sheriff's office out to the community, and also we have feedback cards. Everybody gets one. It's a little survey.
Good.
It has questions on it. How do you like the service from your sheriff's office? What are we doing bad? What are we doing good?
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
great deal.
I think it's a great opportunity for, and John comes here every month and you get to hear stuff, but I think it's an opportunity for those people in those districts to actually get to see you and know you and talk to you and your captains and everybody else. I mean, I think that's a wonderful opportunity. So if you have any questions at all, what was the date again for the next one?
It's the 15th. It's next Wednesday night, and it is at 6 o'clock at Union Mine High School.
Okay, so everybody got that, and you know, if you can break away, come visit John and his guys and talk about what's going on. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. I will say that I think, short of the older sheriffs going back, but certainly some of the guys that were just before you, were never an open book. I mean, the doors were never opened. Everything was done in secret, and I want to give you props for opening that up and letting anybody basically come talk to you.
Well, thank you
about that. I think that's important.
Well, it is important. It is. I mean, I work for the people.
Right.
And my deputies, my staff, my support staff, everybody, we work for the people. That's part of the vision statement that I brought in, that total enforcement, total care, total professionalism, specifically the care. Total care for victims, witnesses, in the community is, every new employee that comes in, I talk to. I do the last interview in the hiring process, and then so I get a chance to enforce that and what total care means, and that, hey, the community does pay our salary.
Right.
Their taxes are the reason you're even able to apply for this job and have this job. So should you be selected for this job. And then with all the sworn, they come in again, and they have another about 10-15 minutes with me prior to actually going to work after they're hired. And again, I reinforce that in our vision statement, and each employee gets a challenge coin that has the 3 tenets on it: enforcement, care, professionalism. It's that important, and we can never lose sight of it. And we got to be always vigilant that we don't have, one of my captain's favorite words, I love it, mission creep.
Yeah.
That we don't start getting away from it, We always focus on that mission statement, our vision statement, and what it means, what its core values are, and that we're always providing that. But it's things are going well. I'd like, since we're talking about the agency, the budget.
Sure.
The first year I came in, right when I sat in that seat, I took a $4.9 million cut with all the vacant positions that were there that they just wiped, which was fine. I said, that's okay, we can deal with that. And in that first 6 months, I was still able to return $1.2 million in fund balance. Last year, I turned back $2.7 million in fund balance. This year, I just promised the CAO last week in a updated third quarter projection, $3 million in fund balance, all while not losing personnel, having the same amount of staff, actually up staff from 358 to 369 now, and fielding more deputies per shift than before. So we're in really good shape. We are moving forward with something that I identified, and I think you and I have talked about this before. Early on, when I first got in there, was our headquarters.
Right.
The numbers are what they are. We're paying $337,000 a year on off-site facility leases.
Right.
I have detectives on one end of town. I have support services on the other end of town. I have OES, dispatch, fiscal across the parking lot.
You need to get them
radio
under one
shop.
roof.
We need everybody under one roof. And one of the big things that really solidified this was the county did a facilities needs study. This is something else that's exciting for El Dorado County. They're finally starting to realize that you have to take care of the facilities you have.
Do you think?
El Dorado County has never had a deferred maintenance plan, has never had a plan to maintain the assets that you have.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm actually on the facilities committee that, and I'm doing it because of my background. I believe in construction might help a little bit. But you have to have a plan to keep these buildings, keep these assets viable, and keep them valuable, keep them worth something, able to keep personnel in. So the county last year had a company called Vanner do a study, a county-wide study on all of the facilities that the county owns and or leases, but focused on the ones that the county owns. And there were 2 buildings that this company identified as facilities that they suggest the county does not put one more dollar into, period, that it's a waste of money. One is the district attorney's office in the DA's annex on Main Street,
Right.
Which I have been in there, and it's
pretty sad.
Pretty sad.
Yeah.
And the other was in the at the bottom of the list was the sheriff's headquarters building. So what we've done is, you know, the fiscal conservancy we've had so far and turning back in the fund balances and everything else, selling our jail beds that we have room for now under AB 109,
Right.
selling those to those less fortunate counties that don't have those beds. We're selling those beds. The county agreed to let us use those funds for 3 things: deferred maintenance, emergency maintenance, and sheriff's headquarters. So we're building the figurative foundation to get this done.
Right.
We are doing our own internal facilities needs study, which is going to show what we really need, what we would expect. I would like a 50-year building. It's too hard to plan 50 years, but we're going to do our best. We're going to have a complete independent site selection committee, look for locations. That's for a couple reasons. Number one, I don't want anybody pointing the finger at me like typically happens with our board,
Right.
on saying, well, I'm getting involved in real estate deals and taking care of my buddies, because it absolutely is not the case. So we get away from all that, and I don't even have to worry about it. Somebody
Right.
else is making the decision.
Right. Right.
And also, you have this third party do this. That way the word doesn't get out in the community that you might be looking at something, and then the price goes through the roof and costs the taxpayers more dollars. So we're doing,
which, by the way, has been done in this county.
has been done in this county. So we're doing everything which I believe is the best way and the right way to get to where we need to be. And whether it's next year, the following year, this summer, when we finally get over the hump, where two things need to happen. The magic, I call it the magic numbers, need to come together. What the costs are to keep my operation going with the facilities I have now, including those off-site facility leases, the inefficiencies in business, the inefficiencies in our primary objective, which is crime solving, because we don't
Right.
have the water cooler talk,
Right.
you know, all that stuff. The inefficiencies in old utilities technology, just everything. When all those real costs come together over here, and then the costs including construction, debt service, everything for, say, a 30-year lease purchase buyback on a new facility, when those two numbers come together, so it doesn't cost the taxpayers a dime more than they're already spending, meaning I don't want to see the county, we're not going to go ask for a bond to do this or anything. We can do it, I believe, with what we already have. Once those two numbers come together, it's a no-brainer. We'll move forward. Then long-term planning is once we get past that point of no return, and we're getting this building built, and it's going to happen, and it's happening. Then we're going to start focusing again on getting this agency built back up to what I believe we should have.
Sure. Right.
You know, the bottom line is we could use more deputies. I could use. The county just approved another fiscal position for me for many reasons. But in 2007, I believe the number was 406 employees, and we're down to 369, which is good. We're doing a great job. We're doing a fantastic job. The troops, the staff are just stars. They're just stars. But we can always do better.
Oh yeah.
We can always do better. And it's, you know, a lot's going to depend on the prioritization of the budget by the board. See which direction they want to go. If they decide, you know what, 369 is fine for another 5 years, that's fine. We'll make it work because we have been making it work. But the first thing, the most important thing, is we need to get this new facility off the ground, get it done, because in the long term we will be saving the county money.
Is there not the courts are in a similar situation? They've been trying.
Yeah, they're in a similar situation, but they're in a bad situation right now because of the state of the state.
Yeah.
Last September was one of the big meetings that the state had all these courthouse projects that were on the books. They revisited them all, and with cutbacks that they were anticipating, some of them came off the books. El Dorado County stayed on the books. It's still in planning. It's still going to happen.
Right.
So they say. However, between September and now, they have reduced the funding 25%. Now, part of me, well, not part of me, all of me looks at this whole thing and says, well, yeah, there's typical state bureaucracy, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a state bureaucracy. I'm not sure what savings could be had, where they could be had, but I can guarantee you there is savings to be had.
So my understanding is when the jail was built, there was a plan to have the court facilities next to it. Is that ever...
That's one of the locations that's on the books, but I
about?
believe now the final location that they're really looking at for final siting is down below the jail, down below it in the low area.
Okay.
And that was actually heard of that right after I came into office. They showed me a big master plan that the county had for years, apparently, and it showed the courthouse right up next to the jail,
right.
and it showed a new sheriff's justice facility is what they called it,
right.
down in that swale behind the jail, down in that canyon.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And I took one look at it, and I said, that's all fine, but while I'm sheriff, I'm not going to be in a hole. The sheriff's office should not be in a hole. That's the tactical cop in me saying, I got to be on high ground. And it was right after Stockton PD got shot up from the overpass. It was a perfect scenario, you know. And I don't know if anybody listened to it and said, oh, that makes sense or whatnot, but apparently now the courthouse is sited down below the jail now.
Okay.
One of the big pluses that they were going to try to have was a transportation tunnel.
Right.
To the court from the jail. Even with the court being as close as they were going to put it, that transportation tunnel was still going to be millions of dollars because of the security and Title 24 requirements, because it was basically part of the jail.
Okay.
Brought the cost through the roof.
It does sound like a good idea, but
it did sound like a good idea. But they've since made the move to down there. I think the big master plan includes basically all the lawyers in one spot, which is good for us.
Yeah.
All the lawyers will be in one spot.
Let them have the low ground.
And they'll all be in one spot. District attorney, the courts, district attorney, public defender, and then some commercial law offices, victim witness, everything else will be in one area, one-stop shop for everything court law related.
That makes sense.
It does make sense. So anyway, that's what's going on. We're moving forward. I just want the community and the public to understand that I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that this happens, and I'm confident it's going to happen without asking for one dime extra. We can do this. We're already well on our way, and it'll be amazing, because whenever I see all these jurisdictions say, well, we got to float a bond. We want to do this, great. We'll just float a bond. We'll have the taxpayers pay for it. There's ways to do it without doing that.
Right.
You be fiscally conservative. You plan right. You build the figurative foundation. You don't just one day decide I'm going to build something and do it. You have to plan for it. You have to prepare for it. You have to have a long-range vision. And we've done that. We're moving forward with it, and I'm excited about it.
That's great, because I'm glad to hear that. Because, like you were talking about all the off-site facilities that you have, and what a savings just in bringing that all in the house.
Well,
that would almost pay for it.
Well, it's hard to quantify that dollar amount, but you can. And here's a perfect example. I am last Thursday, and this happens daily, but one instance in particular. Last Thursday, had a personnel issue. It's winding up. It's coming down to the point where it's on my desk now. My support services captain, I call him up. He calls me up and says, "Hey, this is done. It's ready for you. I'll bring it over." I said, "Okay." He gets in his car, drives over to the sheriff's office. I get the file.
Right.
I take my time. I go through the file. I'm done with it. I've made my decisions. I call him up, said, hey, the file's here. I'm done with it. I've typed up my letter of recommendation. Come and get it. He gets to get in his car, come over to the office, pick up the file, and take it back. That's just one example.
Yeah.
And this isn't like something, well, just give it to the mail guys. No. You don't understand. There are things that nobody else touches but this.
Yeah, they're documents that you don't put in the U.S. mail.
Absolutely.
That's right.
One of the biggest inefficiencies that bothers me is, I mentioned the detectives and the deputies aren't cohesive. The detectives are at an off-site facility. They do have detectives that come over and sit through briefings, and they try and do the information exchange. But, I mean, it's like in any other business. That communication just in the hall, hey, how you doing? Hey, did you hear about that case I did yesterday? Yeah, you know what? I was working a case over here, and that same type of information happened. Putting that stuff together, that's priceless. You cannot put a price on that. And public safety suffers because of that.
Yeah.
When you don't have that, because that communication is not
I think
happening.
it's important. And doesn't it also breed a little bit of them versus us, and it kind of breaks the troops up a bit?
It can, absolutely. Yeah. It can, absolutely.
Yeah. That's one of the things I could see happening easily, because, guys, they don't ever see the detectives because they're, patrols here, and detectives are there, and it's like, yeah. So
that's not good. And another really neat, unexpected consequence that came out of this when Placer County did theirs, something they never thought of, we aren't thinking of, we never thought of. A lot of agencies don't when they end up with a new facility, is their workers' comp claims, sick leave abuse, everything. Unexcused absence, whatever you want to call it, went through the floor.
Right.
Because now, gosh, look at this place.
It's a nice place to go to. You're not breathing asbestos. You're not.
No, we don't want to talk about those things.
Yeah, but but you get the idea. I mean, as an employee, you want to come to a nice place, and it's nice to be there, and you see all, you work with all the guys.
Right.
And I can easily see where it would make it better for the department in itself, just that. So, well, I hope that happens in our lifetime, because I can tell you, I've been hearing about this whole, and you know as well as I do, whole situation about the building that you're in now. It's been on the board since easily Don McDonald when it first started.
Yeah, and I think that, and I'm not saying anything bad about anybody. I just think with my experience in construction, understanding the full process, taking the baby steps to build that figurative foundation to get the political will within the county, the political will within the community, the financial planned out, laid out, so that we know where we're going, we know what we need to do, rather than just saying, okay, we need to get a new sheriff's office. Let's do it. Well, you got to back up a little bit, slow down so much that even in this facility study that we're going through now, and we're in the process, it was moving too fast. And I actually told my command staff, I said, slow this down. We get one shot at this,
right? And
we have to do this absolutely right.
Right.
Tell these guys to slow down. I understand they have a contract price; they're going to get paid the same whether it's 8 months or 6 months or a year. So they obviously like to get it done as short as they can. But slow down. We're moving too fast. This is a big project.
Oh yeah,
big,
multi-millions of dollars. Yeah, and you do want to make sure it's right and not have a stairway going to nowhere.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
we want.
No, I don't want change orders. Change orders cost money.
Oh, big money.
Change orders cost money.
We want to make sure it's right. Well, that's great. That sounds like there's some good stuff on the horizon. And I've heard nothing but positive stuff out there from people watching our show, and we still got about 5 or 6 people watching right now, so that's kind of nice. Didn't call in though, for shame on you. This is your opportunity to really get on the sheriff. But again, I think things have gone really well, and I'm really excited about the future for you and the department.
Oh, thank you.
And then I had now you know that I have a new motorcycle. It's a 3-wheel, right? Can-Am. So I started thinking, wouldn't it be nice if we don't put on a ride to raise some funds?
For what?
What does the department need? What could we use some funds for?
Well, we could come up with some ideas.
Yeah, I thought we could. And I bet if we have Sheriff John lead the road, go all over this county, because I've done this a few times. I've gone to places I haven't seen in 20 years, and take a nice ride through El Dorado County, maybe have a little barbecue at the end of it, and raise a few dollars. I think it would work. Are you interested? Are you in?
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
We'll have to work on that then.
We'll talk about that. You
Yeah.
betcha. You betcha. You know, I had those rides when I was running during my campaign. I haven't had one of those in a long time. That'd be fun.
It would be fun.
Maybe we could raise enough money to pave the road down into the range.
There you go. That would help everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, who
We got a caller.
Let's see if we get a caller now. Let's see if they can hear us. Hi, you're on with Rob Charney and Sheriff John DiAgostini.
Hi, Rob. Jim Reardon.
Hey, Jim, how are you, buddy?
I am good. I have one quick question for you.
Okay.
Any news at all on when we'll see ammunition available so that we can actually go qualify?
You know, the rumor mills are out there that we're going to start seeing some more ammo on the shelves, but I can tell you from my personal experience here in the last few weeks, it's still not out there.
Yep.
The shelves are still bare, and every time I put on one of my CCW classes, the guys always ask how many rounds, and I say 50 rounds. They say, okay, where can I find it? I say, I can't help you.
Yeah.
You're right, Jim. And John and I had this discussion about Homeland Security and the hijinks they're doing with purchasing the amount of ammunition that they're getting and hoarding. And then a little bit of all of us hoarding a little bit is the situation too. Jim, you're probably the only guy I know who's got enough money to start an ammo manufacturing company. Why don't we go into business?
Well, I think there'd be a ready supply of customers, I can tell you that.
I know for a fact.
And, well, listen, I'll let you go, but Sheriff John did a great job and a lot of great information on the show today. Congratulations to both of you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
See you later.
We try to keep going, and then maybe in the next go around, maybe you'll have some great. We got to pin him down a little bit. Let's really get on John some.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we'll see you now.
Okay, Jim. Thanks for calling in.
Sure. Bye.
Bye. So, yeah, that's as any of you who are shooters or avid shooters at all, as you know, the situation with ammo has not changed, and we're going over 6 months where it's just almost impossible to get it. So those of us that reload, we're also having some difficulties in getting components.
Yeah. I heard some of the, and it might have been from you, I'm not sure, some of the people in the in that industry that keep tabs on it, and CCI or Blount, is it still Blount?
It's actually owned by ATK, who's
Okay.
the major manufacturer company. It's Federal, CCI, Hodgson Powder. It's all under that one roof.
Okay. That they are hoping and forecasting August, September to be at least to the point where the component part is caught up enough,
Right.
so that the ammunition, the final product part, will start being able to hit the shelves and be stocked.
They're telling me here they're facing a few issues now. They are saying that they're running 24/7. They're cranking out as much ammo as they can crank in, as long as they can get the raw materials. Here's the issue: there's a lead shortage, there's a brass shortage, and some of the powder situations is a shortage in that as well. So that's making it difficult for everybody. Now, a good situation on the lead thing is, look like crazy California is trying to pass a bill outlawing law ammunition. Well, that's going to, I don't know what that's going to do. It's going to, there's no way that it's going to kill California as far as being able to shoot.
Yep.
So it'll make every one of us have to go out of state to try to find ammunition, and good luck with that one. So we're not being helped by our state at all. On the ammunition situation. They're trying to make it more difficult. They're not helping. But the manufacturers are trying. Now, what's really interesting is all the brass that they used to be able to recycle, all the departments, law enforcement departments, all the different agencies, all the gun clubs and all that used to be able to turn in that brass and turn it into some of the companies like Schnitzer Steel and some of the other recycling companies, and that brass would be turned around, melted down, put back into a loadable component and resold. My understanding now is that brass is no longer being recycled. It's now being sold to China. and it's causing a brass shortage in the United States. Now that, and I don't have it in writing, but this is what the guys in the manufacturing business are telling me. So they're having problems getting enough brass to continue to make cartridges. The lead situation, because of all the automobiles now running on batteries. The huge amount of battery requirements, that's killing the lead. How to, because it used to be really easy. All these batteries are returned in, they are being recycled. The manufacturers were able to buy that lead to use it. Well, now that lead's being recycled back for more batteries because the demand for batteries have gone crazy. And then on the chemical side, on the powders and all that, apparently there's, and I'm not a scientist, so I don't know which ones are missing, but there's some components in the manufacture of powder that they're having trouble getting as well. So you throw all of this into the mix, and you see what we've got. And then when you can find ammo, you're hoarding it. I can't blame these guys. If you go in a store and there's, 200 rounds of ammo on the shelf, you buy it.
Everything you just said right there brings up a point that's kind of a sidetrack here, but I think needs to be said. Every country, every one of those things you talked about are natural resources.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Every country was founded on natural resources. Look what this country has done with the regulations on natural resource management.
Yeah.
We're cutting our throat.
Yeah.
Whether it's lead, brass, those chemicals, timber production.
Yep. Steel.
Everything.
Everything. Copper, you name it all. Yeah. No, the management is poor, and the only solution that, when it comes to the firearm industry, the only solution the government sees is take it away from them. I mean, if you were a real conspiracy nut, like there's plenty of them out there, they say this is being done on purpose. And
well, I mean,
I don't know that.
A country is nothing without its natural resource. Countries are founded on that. They can only survive on their natural resources.
That's right.
That's absolutely proven. And if you start cutting the ability for a country to utilize their natural resources, you've cut their throat. They can no longer survive. They can no longer survive. You can't mine in this country anymore. You can't log in this country anymore. You can't.
Yeah. Everything we need. I mean, the minute you cut down mining, that's all our natural resources. You can't cut mining. We need it for everything. And how do you build a house? Have you bought a 2x4 lately? I bet I just closed in a little closet that had an air conditioning unit in. It cost, the price in wood about floored me. I mean, this little 3x5 that I had in closet was like $350 in wood.
And there's a 3 cents tax on 2x4s.
And tax on the new timber tax.
The new timber tax.
The new timber tax.
How does anybody build anything? I mean, you're right. The saddest thing the other day is I went up on the bike and I was driving. I decided to go through Camino. And I go by SPC's, the lumber mill.
SPI?
Yeah, SPI's lumber mill there, and it's all closed down and shuttered down and everything. And I look at it and I go, I just can't. We've got all this timber.
Oh yeah.
We have all this wood.
Yeah.
And they choose to close down the mill, take everything out of it, and go elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to know this number, but the amount of timber that the El Dorado National Forest grows, which is a sustainable resource, right?
Absolutely.
It's a sustainable resource.
That's right.
It continues to grow. Is 200 billion feet a year or something. So why aren't we cutting that many feet a year?
So I don't really know the timber industry that well. So what's happening with all this wood that's growing? It's just continuing to grow, right?
Continues to grow. The understory, the fuels buildup is out of control.
Yeah.
The canopies get out of control. They get too tight.
We're going to have a major fire.
Absolutely. You have to manage your forest, and the Forest Service is not doing that. They are not doing that.
What about the private lands? Is SPI, is that them?
Are
they maintaining it anyway?
They can, but again, it's market driven too. When you are importing wood from Canada, cheaper than you can produce it here, when we're allowing that level of importation, it's crazy.
So in other words, we can import wood from Canada cheaper than we can produce it here?
We produce it here because of all the regulations. Absolutely.
Here we go again.
Absolutely.
Government is just killing us.
Yeah, yeah. You're right.
Oh, man. Well, we've got so many things to deal with. We'll just deal with our little world.
I'll try and get some more of those numbers if I remember on one of these shows. We'll talk more about that. But it's my family's in the logging industry. My brother's J&R Logging. And I hear the horror stories and the games that get played and the hoops that get jumped through and all the new regulations and the new carb stuff for the equipment and everything else.
Let's get him to come in on the show and talk with you.
Oh, he'd love to.
Guys.
He'd love to.
Let's talk about it. And, he can come in with you, and if he feels more comfortable, and we'll do a little round table, because I think that would be a great thing for our audience.
He's very, very knowledgeable of the industry. He goes to Washington, D.C. for, I believe it's ACL, Association of California Loggers. Goes back there and does some work for them at the federal level. Very involved in the state level. Very engaged, very, very knowledgeable.
Yeah, I think that would be great if we could get him in here and let's talk about that.
He's my baby brother. I'll get him in here.
Well, that'll be great. No, I think that's a good thing. And then we're going to work on this bike ride. We'll figure that out, and we'll let everybody else know, so they can jump in on it, and we'll figure out, we've got some great things that we can raise a little money for, so that would be super.
Sure.
And I bet we get some donations and have a barbecue and just have a great time.
All right.
All right, we're going to do it. Well, hey, I want to thank everybody that's watched the show. We've gone over by 6 minutes, but what the heck, we are having a good time. Once more, this is Rob with Old Guy Tech TV. I'm here with Sheriff John DiAgostini, and we'll catch you next time.